Meng Huo and Zhu Rong. Meng Huo could have very well existed, but Zhu Rong is fictional. If Meng Huo did not exist, then he was simply created to represent the Nanman tribal chieftains. The legendary story of Meng Huo being captured 7 times by Zhuge Liang has caused some people to doubt his existence altogether. The article called Discussion on Meng Huo notes that the name Huo means captured in Chinese, which is all too convenient considering what eventually happened to him. Pei Songzhi pointed out that whilst he was compiling his annotated version of the records of the 3 kingdoms, the writings of the historian Shi Zuoqi was unreliable at times. It just so happens that Zi Zuoqi was also the author of the Spring and Autumn Annals, which first mentions Meng Huo's 7 captures. Pei Songzhi did not comment on Meng Huo specifically, but his notes have caused many others to doubt the validity of the 7 times captured story, although they didn't go as far to doubt that Meng Huo actually existed. There is also an old legend that the Yi people considered Meng Huo as one of their rulers, where he went by the name Mot Hop. Lady Zhu Rong, on the other hand, was made up for the novel The Romance of the 3 Kingdoms, where she plays the part of the tribal warrior wife of Meng Huo. She claims to be a descendant of the highly regarded Chinese mythological demigod who is also named Zhu Rong. It is written in the Moji that the mythological Zhu Rong is the god of fire and of the south, which most likely serves as the inspiration for the character's name within the novel. Much of Chinese mythology is believed to have at one point in time been based on factual history, although the retellings and translations throughout the ages have left the truth hidden behind double meanings or lost altogether. The mythological Zhu Rong has also been recorded numerous times as different ancient Chinese figures, a descendant from the Yellow Emperor, a son of a sky god, and also as a government minister of fire. In the year 223, after Liu Bei passed away, a Nanman chieftain named Yong Kai decided to take this opportunity to start a rebellion. He led his men to Jianning Commandery and killed its administrator, then took his son Yanyi as a hostage. Li Yan of Shou wrote to Yong Kai numerous times, trying to strike a peace deal to pacify his ambition, but Yong Kai stated, "I heard the sky cannot have 2 suns, and the land cannot have 2 rulers. Now, from a distance away, I see that the land has been divided into 3, so I am confused and do not know who to pledge allegiance to." Shi Zi, the administrator of Jiaoji Commandery, which is in modern-day North Vietnam, and Bu Ji from Wu, enticed Yong Kai into an allegiance with Sun Quan. Yong Kai sent his prisoner Zhang Yi as a tribute to Sun Quan, who then appointed Yong Kai as the administrator of Yongchang, but this commandery was already occupied by Shu forces. When Yong Kai arrived to claim his title, the current Shu administrator, Liu Kai, who was loved by the local people, rallied his troops and the common folk together to prevent Yong Kai from entering the city. Yong Kai wrote to Liu Kai many times, but his attempts to convince him of his legitimacy were ignored. Yong Kai gave up and so travelled to the Nanman tribes with the intention of recruiting them, but they declined his offer to even meet with him. After this, he decided to go visit Meng Huo, a very influential and popular leader within the Nanman tribes, and was able to convince him to join his cause. Meng Huo sparked a fury amongst his people by lying to them that the Shu government were going to impose harsher rules onto them, which brought many soldiers to Yong Kai's cause. Zhuge Liang's policies at this time focused on recovering his state's stability by rebuilding the Shu-Wu alliance, allowing his armies time to rest, and also seeking the release of any prisoners of war. Due to the lack of militarization against Yong Kai, another tribal chief felt inspired to rise up as well. Gao Ding of the Su tribe allied himself with Yong Kai by killing the Shu administrator of Yu Zi, and then also his replacement, Gong Lu. Shi Xing was then sent by Zhuge Liang to inspect Zhang Ke Commandery, where he immediately arrested the lower-ranking officials for questioning. The Shu administrator Zhu Bao didn't agree to this, and so killed Shi Xing and then joined in with the other rebels as well. In the year 225, after much planning, Zhuge Liang personally led his army south on a campaign to deal with this situation. His chief clerk, Wang Lian, tried to convince him out of this, but Zhuge Liang's fear that his own officers, Ma Zhong and Li Hui, weren't able to get the job done by themselves compelled him to see to it in person. Ma Su also then suggested that they use psychological warfare to win the hearts of the people, rather than put them down by force to prevent any further uprisings. Zhuge Liang strongly agreed with this. Yongkai and Gao Ding had constructed forts at Meiyonu, Dingxi, and Beishui, so after sailing into Nanzhong, Zhuge Liang led his army to the fort at Beishui in the hopes that all the rebels would group up and he could defeat them all in one battle. Unfortunately they didn't group up, but it didn't really matter, as it wasn't long until some infighting had broken out within the rebel camp, where Gao Ding's men had killed Yongkai. In this moment of confusion, Zhuge Liang launched his attack and easily defeated Gao Ding. He then ordered Ma Zhong to recapture Zhang Ke commandery, whilst Li Hui attacked Jianing commandery. Li Hui's army became isolated from the rest of the Shu forces and soon found himself surrounded by rebel forces 2-1. He deceived them into thinking he wanted to submit to them, and as they lowered their guard, he ordered his men to pierce through their ranks, where he continued on to meet up with Ma Zhong. The pair then rendezvoused with Zhuge Liang and his main force, where they could together easily defeat Meng Huo, who by this point had rallied all the rebel remnants together with his Nanman forces. Zhuge Liang scored a victory against Meng Huo, but after this battle is where the questionable and debated legend of Meng Huo being captured and released 7 times occurs. It is said that Zhuge Liang gave Meng Huo a tour of his camp before releasing him so their armies can fight over and over, until eventually Meng Huo submitted peacefully. As he was in the area, Zhuge Liang could now personally see to the correct setup of Nanzhong's administration. He reformed the area by adding 2 more commanderies to the region, whilst also ruling that Nanzhong commanderies were to be specifically governed by Nanzhong locals. These administrators would only serve as a representation of the Shu government, whilst the people will actually be governed by their local leaders and tribal chiefs. Zhuge Liang pointed out that the loss of lives in the war means the locals could still want to rebel again, and that having locals govern them lowers the chance of that happening. Also, non-local administrators would be more expensive, as they'd need to be provided with troops to guard the cities. Before he departed, Zhuge Liang declared that the tribal leaders and chiefs only need to pay tribute to Shu in the form of gold, manpower, food, or livestock, and that no direct tax was to be applied to the region. These policies turned out to be reasonably successful. There were occasional rebellions in the years to come, but they were always dealt with by the administrative level that Zhuge Liang had set up earlier. Many influentials from Nanzhong cooperated with Shu by sending tributes of supplies, manpower, and gold, which would only serve to benefit the state of Shu Han. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.